Alrighty, so first of all, I would like to take a second to thank the ERA for their support and encouragement and acceptance. I never really thought I'd be in a position like this giving a talk. I'm Matt Andrews. I consider myself to be a hobbyist, and I'm introducing Mega, mutable encoding enabled genetic algorithm. It's a novel genetic algorithm approach that is a lot more lifelike than traditional approaches. Let's start with talking about traditional genetic algorithms. Traditional genetic algorithms are a flat 1D list of genes that represent potential solutions, which are evolved through a selection and reproduction of solutions. Yes, it's more complicated than that, but I'm not trying to teach a master class. GA works, but there's not much left. Research isn't focused on exploring a genetic algorithm anymore. It's about external things that we can add on to make them better and bend the rules. In short, I feel like we've kind of stopped innovating. Neural networks and genetic algorithms used to be side by side. Let's face it, the focus, hype, and money are now centered on neural networks. Why? Because for the most part, genetic algorithm is considered fully developed and reaching its potential. And I can already hear the mob starting to light their torches. But hold up, here is a kitten as a peace offering. I hope everybody's feeling better about that. I'd like to argue that the current state of genetic algorithm is because our model of genetic algorithm is incomplete and incapable of capturing the complexity of life. That's where Mega comes in. Mega is a novel genetic algorithm approach driven by a form of evolved feature selection through the creation of new metagenes, which are available to itself as the system progresses. This facilitates not only the evolution of solutions, but also the evolution of the gene set, resulting in the formation of the metagenome. So what's the biological equivalent? Mega is analogous to how proteins are encoded and represented in complex life. The diagram is a simple explanation of exon shuffling. As seen in the diagram, both Mega and traditional genetic algorithms are represented in the same 1D array of solutions. The end result is a one-dimensional array of genes. Differences in how they are handled through the mutation and recombination process. Metagenes themselves can be thought of as both exons and proteins. In this example, the exons are discrete units that can be recombined together to make alternative protein structures. Metagenes themselves can be thought of, where exons are a set of allele representing functional subunits that can make up whole proteins. Through alternative splicing, exons can be rearranged or skipped entirely, creating novel protein structures. In Mega, metagenes can be captured, created, or opened and modified. They can be nested within or deleted from metagenes, allowing for the continual evolution and development of the metagenome through the lifetime of the algorithm. What is a metagene? To explain this, we have to go over a couple of other things first. There's base genes, or user-defined alleles that the genetic algorithm is initialized with. Delimiters are non-coding genes used to delimit regions of the genes within the organism, noted as start and end. Delimited segments of genes contained within a pair of start and end delimiters. Delimited regions are subjected to differential mutation rates. Capture mutation is a mutation that triggers capture of a delimited segment. A metagene is an evolved gene composed of two or more base genes and or metagenes represented by a single unique encoding, created by a capture mutation. Essentially, metagenes are evolved subspace abstractions of the search space. Here's a quick little video to show the process in a visual way. Here we can see our base genes on the side, and the bottom is our organism, delimited regions right here. A capture mutation triggers the creation of a metagene, which replaces the genes and then is added to the gene set or the genome. So this is the metagenome. More like, this is a really cool and beautiful plot of the metagenome that has no real value other than looking good against a black background. Here's a less visually appealing but infinitely more useful plot of the same thing. The metagenome is the real magic of Mega, in that it essentially is an archive of the algorithm's experience within the search space. Every node is a metagene. Each gene is essentially a subspace within the larger search space, Over time, these subspaces become an increasingly comprehensive representation of high and low fitness regions within the search space. Continual evolution of the metagenome through the lifetime of the algorithm provides an increasingly efficient means of navigating the search space with varying degrees of granularity. The metagenome doesn't just benefit the current instance of the algorithm, but can be used to initialize future runs of the algorithm within the same or similar domain. New base genes can be uploaded within the same run or between runs, provided they aren't disrupting the existing mappings of the original base gene set. This potentially allows for simple transfer learning, creating faster fitness gains and increased solution quality, often outperforming the original instance due to the continual evolution of the metagenome. Okay, so that's all well and good, but let's look at some of the results that I have. Through the creation and nesting of metagenes, encoded organisms can be represented in fewer genes in the same, and in some extreme cases, just a few. This results in faster application of genetic operators. It does introduce overhead in decoding, but this is mitigated in caching of genes according to the most recently used. I think the best compression that I've seen is about 2,000 alleles represented by only 33 metagenes. As you can see, there are cycles of increasing and decreasing compression. This hasn't been investigated yet, but I believe it is dynamical interactions between the delimiter insertions and capture mutations, among other factors. Mega running 1max to investigate open evolution. We can see that the target of 300 consecutive ones was hit in generation 160. Looking at the average fitness, we can see that the average fitness levels off and decreases slightly, but the delta generally has the same amount of noise and range in values. To me, this is showing a consistent level of exploration throughout the run. But this is only 300 generations. So let's take a look at 1,000 generations. Again, the target of 300 was hit at 290, not the best, but you can see throughout, after it peaks, we see about the same level of noise, and actually it kind of increases a little bit. And to me, this is the algorithm continuing to explore the search space and alternative solutions, even though it's already hit its peak. This is the kind of behavior that we see, or that I see in a lot of the runs, more so on the leading ones. It's a very simple implementation, but I think that it shows some interesting behaviors just by itself. Future research. I'd like to take a closer look at transfer learning. As you can see in this graph, this is one of my older ones. I've struggled a little bit to replicate these results, but I've changed the algorithm quite a bit since I first saw this, and I'm trying to recapture this and effectively demonstrate this behavior. Here we have the control run at the bottom. It didn't perform very well, but you can see here that the instructor, which is in charge of creating the metagenome that is used for the student here in orange, when there's no ability to create new genes, the student can still innovate, creating new highs and with faster fitness gains, outperforming the instructor. And again, I'm still trying to replicate these. I have a graph that I just created here while we were waiting that kind of shows it. It's not as distinct. I think it needs a little bit more refinement to make it effective. But here we have the control in red, and we have the instructor here in blue, and then we have the student here in green, and you can see that the student is still gaining. Now, granted, this is a 99% confidence, and it was only over 3 samples, so the spread is pretty large, and I think that through testing, we can refine this a lot more. Another thing that I want to investigate is metagenome breeding, the idea of taking the metagenomes from different runs in a similar problem domain and breeding them similar to how we would a genetic algorithm to create a more robust, dynamic solution to the genetic algorithm itself. And I also want to investigate how the metagenome impacts crossover. I've seen examples where I can turn crossover completely off and it still performs fine, relying only on the metagene. And the repository can be found at this link, and I set up a package that can be installed through pip install Mega 2. Questions and comments can be emailed to Matthew Andrews 2024 gmail.com, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you so much for your time.